Texas reported that cannabis is giving their women back their orgasms.
And Texas men still don't care.
Welcome to Cannabis Broadcasting's To Be Blunt. I'm Medicinal Mike.
And I'm Tommy Lucero.
Too High in Ohio, demonstrating that smoking today's potent marijuana strains is not for the weak-minded. Police in an Ohio township were called to a residence by a young man who protested he'd gotten way too high smoking some Ohio Chronic. Also in Ohio news, Nick Lachey and his friends put up about $14 million to try and regulate all the marijuana farms in Ohio, so that once cannabis regulation becomes legal in Ohio, they will be the only people allowed to grow marijuana in the state. All right, Bigfoot hunters. While some Texas Bigfoot hunters were innocently searching for the mythical Sasquatch this past weekend, they ended up obstructing a Delta County police search for cultivators of a $6.5 million marijuana farm. Bernie Sanders, big in the news right now. U.S. Senator Bernie Sanders, a candidate for the Democratic presidential nomination, just endorsed ending the federal criminalization of marijuana. That's all you got to do right now to win the election is say, I like marijuana, and you're guaranteed to win. And here's Tommy with this week's To Be Blunt Cannabis Hero.
Cannabis activism is a thankless job that takes years of work and generally pays zero. Here on the show this week, we recognize cannabis hero Andrew Hutchings, who thanklessly gives of himself as much as he possibly can to various homeless organizations, helping out the less fortunate and bringing awareness to those who would otherwise have not. And now here's this week's Dear Benji from iBudTender.com.
Hi, and welcome to Dear Benji, brought to you by iBudTender. I'm Benji Cooper, and this week's letter comes to us from Alaska. Dear Benji, I am a 25-year-old mother of two wonderful kids who have never met their grandfather because he has been incarcerated for the last 12 years for violating marijuana laws and growing his own medicine. Now that marijuana is legal everywhere, why is he still in jail? Thanks for writing, and I am truly sorry to hear that your children have never met their grandfather. And now, even though some states have enacted medical and recreational marijuana laws, about half of the states still don't have any kind of marijuana legalization, and unfortunately the government still classifies the plant as a Schedule I narcotic, which they believe it means it has no medicinal value and a high chance for addiction. In a time when cannabis is being legalized, prisoners of the drug war like your grandfather can sometimes be forgotten. Thankfully, there are faithful men and women like our friends at POW 420 that work tirelessly to make sure these prisoners are not forgotten. These people spend their days trying to free these POWs and to make sure they feel loved and remembered while they are still locked up. And that's Dear Benji for this week. I'm Benji Cooper. Keep writing. Now back to you in the studio.
And that was Dear Benji. So keep sending your letters in if you want Benji to read and give you some advice live from the To Be Blunt show. This week's review is going to be on the Pirate Candy Quadzilla, 240 milligrams. This is more than one dose, so don't eat the whole thing. I ate it. I loved it. It kicked right in. I highly recommend this. Tommy ate it.
And from what I'm told, I had a really good time.
Thanks for listening. Tune in next week for more from Benji Cooper, Medicinal Mike,
Tommy Lucero.
and the rest of the crew. We'll be back next week. To be blunt.